A few episodes back, I showed you a Sonic game you could only play if you lived near the right Japanese arcade, sat inside a plastic car, and were roughly 4 years old. Sega decided to make a sequel to that. Welcome to 1993. This is SegaSonic Cosmo Fighter, a shoot-'em-up ride built by Sega, stuffed inside a cabinet shaped like a spaceship, was launched into a quick tour, and then for all practical purposes, vanished. For almost 25 years it was an enigma within the Sonic community before someone eventually tracked down the PCB, dumped the ROM, and put it online in 2017. The bigger twist is the origins of its English language release. Let's find out. So why did Sega build a second Sonic ride? The Waku Waku line, Sega's series of children ride machines, had been running since 1990. By 93, it already included a Sonic entry. Patrol Car was doing what it needed to do, teaching kids the rules of the road. Then here comes Cosmo Fighter, same developer, same target audience, except this time Sonic is in space shooting things. The answer has less to do with Sonic specifically, and more with what 93 Sega was. This was the company at its commercial peak. Sonic 2 had just moved Mega Drives off shelves at a rate that had Mario shaking. The Sonic brand wasn't just a game character anymore. It was a marketing asset Sega was actively deploying across every format it could, be it games, TV shows, or t-shirts. The question wasn't whether to make another Sonic ride. The question was simply what to do differently. Sega AM1, the same division behind Golden Axe, and eventually House of the Dead, built something that takes the children's ride format and asks how much more game could they fit in the video game. The answer is, well, why not take a look for ourselves?
Hi, my name is Sonic. Dr. Robotnik is trying to capture our friends at the space station. Let's take off through space to rescue them.
It's just beautiful, isn't it? They gave him a very weighty superhero voice. It's really amusing and does fit the space-age theme of this game in an odd way, like a classic radio show. I love the detailed sprite work too. Everything is large, with the environment styled like Macross or Gundam. But, cartoony? Anime is literally animation, but you know what I mean. It's more exaggerated and simplified here. The distant city as he launches is a really cool touch. Quickly, we're introduced to Robotnik in similarly dramatic fashion.
Oh, Dr. Robotnik!
There you are, Sonic. If you want to rescue your friends, you'll have to down me first. Come on, you guys. Get going!
The voices here are kinda reversed, although if they were swapped, that would make Robotnik sound like a hero, wouldn't it? Here, he does at least sound mischievous. Unfortunately, the voice actors who played the roles are unknown. He summons some enemy ships to attack you and quickly retreats. Sonic then moves through 4 waves of bad guys who all die in one hit. There is only 3 kinds, gray round ones, more angular reds, and oranges. Both behave in the same manner, trying to ram Sonic and never shoot at you. Like Patrol Car, no matter how many times you get hit, you can't lose. It's a kiddie ride, and they always get the full credit's worth. The controls on the cabinet work as follows. You got your flight stick where you can move side to side, your fire button featuring Sonic himself, then a big question mark one. That's the button to transform the ship. This is an often overlooked feature in the few articles online. You start with the standard one that fires 2 bullets at once, transforming as a third projectile. So you'd assume, why not stay in that latter mode? Because transforming back to the original state will net you missiles. 2 of them, that fire from the sides giving a much wider area of attack. Getting hit makes you lose the upgrade, but you can just tap the transform button quick and they are right back. The final piece is this handle that you can pull back to speed up, which tilts the cabinet side to side for that extra bit of immersion. The joystick would also make the cabinet sway along. This is the kind of stuff that made these digital rides unique and is missing in emulation. Honestly, I don't know why you'd want to speed up as the game itself is so short. Before you know it, Robotnik reappears for the showdown. After a short bit of him, again like the robots trying to ram you, he hops into a big green mech with large arms that try to punch you. This is where the missiles really come into play. They are spaced perfectly apart to damage the head and arms all at once. Those same missiles can also turn into arms when transforming during this fight. I like the design of the mech, and it's particularly unique for early Sonic. You wouldn't see designs much like this until way later in the series, although I suppose Chaotix did have one. In a handful of seconds, Robotnik will go down, and the outro cutscene plays. You're then given a ranking.
You've done a good job keeping space peaceful. He will surely be back, though. Let's fight against him together. Let's check your results.
Wait, hang on. I know who this is. Troy McClure. Is that you?
Hi, I'm Troy McClure. You may remember me from such nature films as Earwigs, Ooh, and Man vs. Nature, The Road to Victory.
And with that, it silently faded away like a distant star. For most of its life, Cosmo Fighter existed only as a physical object, a cabinet in a warehouse mummified in plastic wrap. No one had dumped the ROM. No footage existed online worth speaking of. Within the Sonic community, it was essentially a rumor with a name attached. One of those games you knew existed because some dude on a forum somewhere had seen one. Within the English-speaking community at least, that place was always Sega World Sydney.
Birthday, and if we got something for you. Kids, buy an unlimited ride pass and you'll get a free Sonic bag. Ooh, yeah, it's full of totally wicked space loot. So get into Sega World, the coolest fun park in the cosmos. Take on Aquanova, Mad Bazooka, Magic Motion, and Ghost Hunter. And pick up your Sonic bag. Sega World, under the blue cone on the city side of Darling Harbor. Sega World, if it's
In 1994, a property consortium company called Jack Fun acquired land at Darling Harbor in Sydney, Australia. In partnership with Sega Japan, Mitsubishi, Mitsui Group, and the Darling Harbor Authority, they invested 80 million Australian dollars. That is something like 185 million in 2026, to build what they described as Australia's interactive Disneyland. This initiative was led by Jack Fun owner Kevin Burmeister, who wasn't just a rich real estate investor, but had prior ties to Sega. Back in 1983, along with American banker Mark Dine, founded the company AussieSoft to distribute video games throughout Australia. They became the primary manufacturer of Sega products in the country, with Sega eventually buying a controlling stake in '92, renaming it to Sega AussieSoft. Construction went smoothly, and Sega World Sydney opened on the 6th of March 1997. With Jack Fun securing a rare 99-year lease for that piece of prime real estate. Australian actor Ernie Dingo would be hired for a series of promotional TV spots. The park would occupy an entire building at the Darling Walk complex. It was divided into 3 sections: the past, the present, and the future. The park featured 7 major rides alongside 200 arcade machines, most of them themed around Sega franchises, including Sonic the Hedgehog. But it seems it wasn't just limited to Sega, as in one flyer I found, right in the corner is Nickelodeon, with the Rugrats prominently displayed. The headline attractions included Rail Chase, an elaborate indoor mine train, roller coaster, and Ghost Hunters, a dark ride that was apparently terrifying enough to traumatize some Australian children. There was a live Sonic puppet show. There was a live Sonic show in costumes, which there seems to be no remaining footage or images of. There were teenage dance parties during school holidays. And finally, of course, somewhere in that building, a translated SegaSonic Cosmo Fighter cabinet with an English language PCB inside it. A big problem for the owners was attendance. It's reported the park needed 800,000 visitors a year to break even. Sydney's population was close to 4 million at the time. Some lofty expectations for an indoor theme park with a steep entry fee. From what I can find, it was 30 or 40 Aussie dollars to get in. That is about 92 today. Ouch. That got you into the rides, but it seems not the arcade games. Those were extra. Still, Sydney is a tourist destination, so they expected between 1.2 and 1.5 million visitors. As you can guess, it didn't pan out. By '99, Sega was done. They sold their stake in the park. Management would choose to hold on, not that they had a choice. Their hopes and prayers would be placed into the Olympics. 2000 was when the event was held in Sydney. It made sense. Millions of international tourists, the world's eyes on Sydney. Surely some percentage of them would walk through the doors at Darling Harbour. The Olympics came. They were a massive success for the city. Sega World got a modest boost, but it wasn't nearly enough, with only 400,000 that year. Audiovisual manager Noel Burgess thought back to that moment in an interview with realcommercial.com.au.
I remember around July of 2000, one of the marketing people said they'd been asked to cancel Sega World's Yellow Pages listing. That was the first time where we thought, okay, this probably won't be here next year.
He would be right. In November 2000, Sega World Sydney closed its doors permanently. During the final week, admission was free. A few months later, in March 2001, everything inside was auctioned off. Only 300 people showed up. The two major rides were sold to foreign buyers at prices far below their estimated value. Rail Chase was eventually shipped to a theme park in India, where it apparently still operates today. The Sonic statues from the park ended up in a junkyard in Blacktown, West Sydney, where they remain to this day, deteriorating, unsold, missing limbs, owned by someone who won't part with these for unknown reasons. They even have rejected offers they themselves set for a price. Looking at photos, there is a ton of fantastic stuff even beyond Sega World. There is well-documented videos about this crazy situation with the statues on the YouTube channel Sense Spacies. I'll include a link in the description. The theme park itself sat partially intact until 2008, when it was demolished and replaced by the Commonwealth Bank of Australia's global headquarters. Not nearly as culturally exciting, and seems to have cost the Australian government a good chunk of change, with $1.25 million being awarded to Jack Fun, due to being told the land couldn't be used for office space, which caused the company to relinquish the 99-year lease. A bank is office space. What happened to the Cosmo Fighter cabinet in that auction is not documented. Who bought it, where it went, how many hands it passed through over the next 2 decades, that's unknown. What is known is that the game itself eventually would reach the right pair of hands. On the 5th of February 2017, the MAME Dumping Union, a group dedicated to preserving arcade ROMs before the hardware physically decays, received a Cosmo Fighter PCB from an anonymous donor. There was talk of the community trying to buy a cabinet as far back as 2012, but it all worked out despite that never happening. The union dumped it as part of MAME's 20th anniversary. A version of SegaSonic Cosmo Fighter was now playable for the first time outside of a physical cabinet.
SegaSonic Cosmo Fighter!
But this was the Japanese one. It wouldn't be until the 23rd of June, 2021, when a Twitter user going by IamAmazing100 posted something that stopped the community cold. They had a Cosmo Fighter cabinet, an English one, a fully localized version of the game that almost nobody had known existed. It was undumped, nearly undocumented, sitting in private hands. The obvious conclusion was that this was the Sega World Sydney cabinet. The only place an English Cosmo Fighter had ever been known to have been installed was that park. It would take a couple years, but on the 19th of February 2023, IamAmazing100 would dump the ROM. The English version of SegaSonic Cosmo Fighter, a game that had existed in a single theme park in Sydney for 3 years, then passed through unknown hands for over 2 decades. And it was now playable by anyone with a computer, including me, so I can make this video for you all. Now then, let's rank it. As a game, it's completely uninteresting. Unlike Patrol Car, which was teaching the rules of the road, and had far more personality, with the animals crossing the road, Sonic shouting their names, jumping out of the car during a speedy chase after Robotnik, Cosmo Fighter feels a lot more drab. Oddly, by trying to be more of a video game in the popular sense, it lost its charm. As I've stated in Patrol Car and Edusoft, I don't like taking a shit on children's media. There is no health bar, no game over, no way for a child to insert a coin and walk away having lost. The only consequence of playing badly is a lower star rating at the end. I can accept that, and that's fine. But it just plays like a much more lame version of Galaga, or some other shoot 'em up. Those voices are pretty funny though. I'll just put it after Patrol Car. Let's be real. If I stumbled upon it as a kid, I'd have been floored, and it's not trying to teach me math. As a complete package with the tilting spaceship, it's very cool. Yet as a piece of Sonic history, it sits considerably higher. This is a gap between a game's tier placement and its historical importance. Something this series keeps running into, and something that Cosmo Fighter illustrates very well. I'm glad it exists. Next time on this retrospective series, we'll be going across the way to get a snack from SegaSonic Popcorn Shop. Hey there, thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please consider leaving a like, subscribing for more, dropping a comment, and maybe even ring that bell. It really means a lot that you made it this far. I knew this would be my only chance to cover Sega World Sydney, so I went all in on that. It's an interesting place and too bad it closed. As for news on other videos, I played through and nearly have completed the script for Super Metroid, so that will be my next focus. Popcorn Shop is going to be a fairly small vid, so expect that before Metroid nonetheless. Still, it will be out before a CD either way. That's all for now, I guess. Peace out, and take care.